Okay, the latest Tottenham news today. We're going to talk about Daniel Levy and how he perhaps didn't make too many friends at Fulham with his negotiation stance on Ryan Sessegnon. We'll have a quick talk about that. Christian Eriksen, we'll also discuss the latest on him. Serge Aurier, the right back as well, we'll talk about him. And Vertonghen as well, the centre back that was left out of the squad on Saturday. And to be honest, I was absolutely amazed that he wasn't at least on the bench, because when you looked at that bench, there wasn't a traditional centre half there in case of injury. So anyway, let's start with Daniel Levy. Now, a little bit of news has come out regarding the transfer with Ryan Sessegnon with Fulham, and the Vice Chairman, I think it's fair to say, is probably a little bit underwhelmed by Daniel Levy's negotiating stance. If I read what he's quoted as saying on the club's, on Fulham's website, it says, "We were so far apart that 24 hours before deadline, I was prepared for Ryan to stay at Fulham this year. We were going to get every penny we asked for, and we got every penny we asked for. I wish it had not taken so long." So obviously you can see, reading between the lines, that Daniel Levy was obviously lowballing, as we know he does. The Fulham team obviously stuck to their guns of what they wanted, the 25 million plus some add-ons. And obviously Daniel Levy did his usual trick of leaving it to deadline day to be able to agree. So 24 hours beforehand, he was still trying to lowball Fulham by the sounds of it. Now, that's great business, don't get me wrong, that's great business, but at some point or other he could come unstuck with that, and you know, you can't keep using the same tactic all the time in the transfer market and expect it to work. Sometimes it's going to go wrong and he's going to come unstuck. But they've got the player. Ryan Sessegnon obviously didn't play at the weekend, but it worked this time. But it just shows he won't be making too many friends with other clubs out there for future transfer negotiations. So I think he needs to just keep an eye on the future as well. And that next one up is Christian Eriksen. So the Times are reporting that Tottenham are willing to do business with a foreign club before the European transfer deadline finishes, and we've still got a little bit of time left on that. And you know, you have to say to yourself, looking at his performance on Saturday, he obviously came off the bench, I think it was about the 63rd minute. And I personally feel, and I think most people feel, he changed the game. And I know he gets the criticism that he's lazy and a bit nonchalant, and he doesn't care. And you could argue that that's part of what goes for him. The opposition see him get the ball, and he looks so comfortable on the ball. He almost looks uninterested. But he has that ability that he can create angles that other players don't. And when he does draw people into him, almost because he looks like he's sort of not going anywhere at times with the ball, and then he pops off those perfect passes and plays those perfect angles. And he's a player that just can unlock those defences. Now, we've still got to see Lo Celso. He may well feature at the weekend. But my feeling is that if Eriksen is happy to stay, then I think he should. Pochettino, I don't think perhaps is showing him as much love as he ought to, because straight after the match, if you watch the Sky interview with him, bearing in mind at the press conference when he spoke about Tanguy Ndombele, he used the words, he was fantastic, and Eriksen probably had a similar impact on the game, albeit for a less period of time. And he was a little bit underwhelming when he was asked about Eriksen. He sort of seemed to infer that, well, it was the second half, he was fresh, and sort of inferring that the other team are tired, and that's how he managed to take advantage. Now, he did go on to say, yes, that he does have quality, but I think if this is a player that Tottenham want to keep, somebody's got to show him a little bit of love and put the neck out and say, look, publicly, we want him to stay. He's a great player. If he's motivated and he wants to play for Tottenham, we want him here. And it's almost like a standoff between both sides. Eriksen's not saying anything. and the Tottenham hierarchy aren't saying anything. And, you know, it's a bit like we need a marriage counsellor to put the two together and see if they can kiss and make up and try and make it work for the future. And I'll probably get absolutely slaughtered by some Tottenham fans who want to see him go. But I think if Eriksen is happy to stay and is motivated to stay, you know, that's a player that if they were buying him, if they were looking to buy a 24, 25-year-old, and I know he's a couple of years older than that, but they'd be looking at 60, 70, 80 million in today's market. So is it not worth just paying him that little bit extra and show him that he's really wanted at the club? But we'll see what happens over the coming days. Pleased to report there's no actual transfer news links to him. There's no clubs that are strongly linked to him other than Real Madrid. Next one we'll go on to is Serge Aurier. Now, the Sun are reporting that he's told his teammates he wants to leave, and you can have a little bit of sympathy with him. He was obviously left on the bench at the weekend. Cal Walker-Peters given the nod on the start, and he played the full 90 minutes. And to be fair, you often hear about managers saying about young players, the door's open for them, and it's up to them to take their chance. And I think it really can be said Cal Walker-Peters took his chance. I thought he was absolutely superb. He's not perfect, he's not the finished article, but he did everything that was asked of him. And I think I mentioned in my previous video on Tottenham that if he can just show that little bit of extra craft and skill in that last third of the pitch to either get past a man or create an opportunity, I think he has the potential to be a very good player. However, is for a young lad to expect him to do a full season of what potentially can be 40 plus matches is maybe asking a little bit too much in his first, what I call proper full season as a senior. Now, Foyth is out injured and he's going to be a little while before he's back. And with injuries, you never know what can happen. It does leave that right back position a little bit bare. Now, Aurier, there's AC Milan and PSG, I understand, are circling for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. I don't think he features long term in Tottenham's plans. But just at the moment, I would say they need him. And so that might be one of those where it's worth just taking a bit of a hit for 12 months and, just giving him a little bit of rotation in the squad, declining any transfers and keep him in there for another 12 months. So that's Serge Aurier. On to now Jan Vertonghen. Now, he wasn't in the squad at all. He was watching from the stands on Saturday, and Pochettino had said he was left out for tactical reasons. Now, obviously, we know Foyth, though, can play centre-back. There was actually no traditional centre-half on the bench. I know Eric Dowers-Zen can play centre-half, but, he's not had a lot of exposure to football recently. And Pochettino was quoted as saying, "I want to play the players who deserve to play," and he said that in his press conference. In the Sky interview after the match, again he was squirming a bit when asked about Vertonghen, and suddenly his English seemed to leave him. So there's obviously something not happy there. Now, there's a history of him and Pochettino and Vertonghen falling out and arguing on the training pitch, and Pochettino's spoken publicly of that. And, Vertonghen has said recently, only a couple of days ago, that, he's happy with Spurs, he's happy with the manager, he wants to play, he thinks he's playing well, he feels fit. He's 32 years old, but at 32, there's still a couple of good years left there, I feel. But he said, there's no offer of a contract. He's in the dark as to what's happening. And again, this can be, isn't Levy's style to really offer long contracts and big money to players that are 32. And I can understand that. However, you have to look at the situation and say the defence is probably the area that has been weakened in the transfer market with Trippier going. It's certainly not been strengthened. There's still obviously the Rose situation that potentially something could happen. And it'd be interesting to see what he does with Vertonghen, because if you've got a choice, if you're Pochettino and you're thinking, well, who do I upset as a centre half, Alderweireld or Vertonghen, then you potentially would say, well, I'm going to upset the older man because Alderweireld is 2 years younger. The similar abilities, I would say. Again, everybody's got their preference on the two. But to actually leave him out of the squad is quite a statement. And you just feel, I mean, my immediate thought when I saw that was, is there a transfer imminent? Now, I'm not aware of any links to any clubs that are imminent. Now, sometimes these deals don't come out of the woodwork at the last minute, but I'm not aware of anything. So it does make you wonder what's gone on there behind the scenes. However, I think he's a valuable player. And again, from a business point of view, to try and keep him happy, maybe give him a contract extension for another 12 months is probably not what Levy wants to do from a business point of view, because he'll be 33 at the start of next season. That'll take him to 34. But I feel that's probably a move that, again, Levy and Pochettino have got to show him a little bit of love, put a little bit of money his way on a contract extension, and it probably just secures that defence maybe for the next 12 months, allows Pochettino to get to maybe the January transfer window or next summer, where he can revisit the defence again. We've still got a few weeks left on the European transfer window, so we've got Rose, Alderweireld, Vertonghen now is potentially a target, and a right back down as well. So it is an area that really needs to be thinking. And if that means a little bit of public press conference praise of these players that may not be the players they're looking to keep for the next 3, 4, 5 years, but sometimes it's necessary to see them through that next 12 months. So that's all the news today. If you like the videos, please like and subscribe. And do let me know your comments in the comments box below. Try and answer as many as I can. And thanks again for watching.